We got Justin Spears on the show today, y'all. It's the AZ Wildcats Podcast. In 30 seconds, don't you go anywhere. Yeah, you like that music, don't you? What is good, everybody? It's the AZ Wildcats Podcast. We got a special guest host today. My guy Damon is on the road at the big game for the Super Bowl, y'all. Big time. Damon's big time. He had to leave me here in Phoenix, Justin Spears. He had to leave me to go do his thing in New Orleans. But I got Justin Spears subbing in for Damon, and some may say this is the Luka AD trade of podcasting. Damon's a great guy. He's a great co-host. I love me some Damon Dog. But I got Luka Doncic today, y'all. Justin Spears, how we doing?
Man, you got rid of Damon, who's a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, and you replaced him with a chubby white boy. So let's go, man. Let's have a great show.
It's a real one-to-one comparison.
Yeah. But, man, I'm excited to be here with you guys. I've been, following PHNX Wildcats, really all PHNX coverage since the infancy stages of PHNX when my guy Saul Bookman started it. And, Mike Luke did a fantastic job with PHNX Wildcats. Really, he was the founding father of this show, did such a great job of building up the audience and made it super popular. And honestly, I'm excited to see what you and Dame Dog are doing right now. You guys are doing some great work, man, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, we're excited to have you, Mr. Spears. And I just wanted to start and kind of get to catch up with you a little bit. It's been a while since I think Arizona fans have really, got to sit down with Justin Spears and figure out what's been going on in the offseason. So what does an offseason look like for Mr. Justin Spears in the football realm?
Well, football's starting to slow down, thankfully. And, once the season ended in November, after that 42-point beatdown, by ASU in the Territorial Cup, that kickstarted a whole nother season for Arizona football. It started the transfer portal era, which is kind of like college football's free agency period. Then, of course, you had the December signing period as well, signing a bunch of high school recruits. Arizona's still active right now. They're adding guys from the junior college ranks. They've added some guys in the transfer portal recently. And, we're looking at a pretty considerable roster turnover for Arizona this year. I mean, we're talking about right now, I think the scholarship newcomers are at like 52, 53, and that number is only going to grow. Now, of course, there are going to be some guys that enter the portal in the spring. They go through the spring football practice process and they realize, okay, I came to Arizona thinking I was going to be in the mix, but I'm really just fourth string. It isn't what it cracked up to be, so I'm going to enter the portal and reassess my options. So, there are going to be some guys that decide, after just a couple of months in Tucson that they're going to enter the portal. That happens, but, we're looking at a lot of new faces for Arizona football. And so it's been a busy, 2 months or whatever the season ended.
Feels like a year, to be honest with you.
Again, it's been a whole nother season, and that's just the craziness of college football with the transfer portal calendar, with recruiting, with all of that. There's just a lot that needs to be fixed moving forward. I'm curious to see how it goes, but yeah, we're in the Wild West phase of college football right now. So it's been pretty busy. And honestly, my football coverage, isn't going to slow down because, we got spring football coming up here in a little over a month. Plus you got the NFL draft process, which we're going to talk about here in just a little bit. So yeah, Arizona football, the grind never stops. It is definitely year round for sure.
Yeah, no, it definitely is year round. And I love that. I love that you try to cover the team year round and you don't really take any days off. Mr. No Days Off, Justin Spears, right? But I do want to go on a little bit more of a personal note because like you said, we are going to get to some football news and notes in the next segment. But I did not know when I learned this morning something about you, Mr. Spears. You are an LA Laker fan.
Yeah.
Some people might be upset to hear that, but it is true.
Sorry.
Now, I got to ask, we started the show with the Luka AD reference. Where were you when the Luka trade went down, Mr. Justin Spears?
So I was actually kind of winding down. It was kind of late at night. I think it was like a little after 9 o'clock
It
here.
was.
And I get up and do a morning show from 7 to 9 a.m. So I am trained to go to bed early and wake up at an early hour. And so I was getting ready to wind things down. And then all of a sudden I get a push notification from Shams Charania from ESPN about this trade. And I looked at the tweet. I'm like, there's no way that's real. There is no, and I clicked on his profile thinking, did something happen? Like, did my wires get crossed? Did I add the wrong Shams? What's going on here? And I clicked on the profile and it said 2.5 million followers, Shams Charania, ESPN NBA insider. And I'm like, so he got hacked.
Yeah.
That's the only other way. Like he got hacked. Someone broke into his phone. And then he had a follow-up tweet that said, no, this is real. The Lakers are trading Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a first-round pick to the Dallas Mavericks for Luka Doncic and Markieff Morris and Maxi Kleba. And I turn on ESPN and Brian Windhorst and all those guys are talking about it. And I'm like, this is actually happening. And the Lakers, once again, lucking out with an incredible trade. Like we've seen some crazy trades in NBA history. One of them included Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, one of the greatest centers of all time, going from the Bucks to the Lakers. We've seen the Lakers make some other trades, but a trade like this, man, I don't know how LeBron and Luka is going to work out, but let's say LeBron does decide to retire soon, or, he pieces out here very soon. It then gives the Lakers a 25-year-old Luka Doncic entering really the prime of his career, and they can build on that moving forward. And this is where, like, when I saw that trade go through and I saw that Luka Doncic was officially a Los Angeles Laker, I sat back and I realized now I understand why people don't like the Lakers. Yes. I get it now because they've already won so many championships, and now the Lakers have set themselves up for a very bright future because it was looking like they put all their chips on the table for LeBron and AD. They were going to ride it out and see how it worked. And then it was going to be some dark days ahead for the Lakers. This now ensures that the Lakers are in a pretty good position moving forward.
Yeah, and I learned something about you this morning, but you got to learn something about me. I'm a Boston Celtic fan, right? So you and I, we have some natural beef, you and I. And so my issue with this, right? I love the basketball side of it, that we get to have maybe the greatest player of all time link up with someone who's probably destined to be a top 10 player of all time on the same team. And the guy who's destined to be a top 10 player hasn't even entered his prime yet. And oh yeah, his one issue is physical conditioning. And oh yeah, the player on his team is probably the greatest of all time at taking care of his body. It makes me sick because the Lakers seem to have just failed upward again. And yeah, that's unfortunate. But I'll bring this back to Arizona here, Justin. LeBron has said, obviously he's full steam ahead on the Arizona Wildcats Tommy Lloyd train with the commitment of Bryce James. But Luka Doncic, he also said if he had any college chances of playing in college, he might have played at Arizona. So now what are the odds that we get LeBron and Luka at the McHale Center next year?
Oh, the odds are incredibly high, which is going to be great. And that's perfect marketing for the Arizona Wildcats. And Tommy Lloyd, of course, they're going to welcome that. We've seen over the years, like last year, Kevin Durant was down here. We've seen so many high-profile people come to Tucson, and Tommy Lloyd welcomes that. He loves that. And when you have recruits that are down here and they can look around and see a big-time NBA player or an actor or comedian or just some random athlete, like you'll see who's it? Kurt Busch. I think it's either Kurt or Kyle Busch. One of the Busch guys.
One of the K Bushes
from NASCAR. They'll just randomly show up to a basketball game. So yeah, there are always stars at McHale Center, and we could be seeing some of the biggest stars in basketball in Luka and LeBron sitting courtside at McHale, which I'm sure would probably happen like one time. Yeah. Once or twice, but still, like you have
before
those
it was
two
a
guys
0% chance, and now it's a non-0% chance, right? That's the coolest part.
Exactly. So, yeah, Tommy Lloyd, he's going to have some big names here sitting courtside. I can only imagine they're probably going to want to do something for Red Blue game leading up to the basketball season because that's really when those guys are available. So
Yeah, that's a good
we'd
point.
love to see Luka and LeBron as dunk judges. That'd be awesome.
That'd be so cool. Man, Conrad Martinez with an outlet pass to Luka Doncic in practice. That's what I need. That's what I need film of.
Yep.
But the Arizona Wildcats, the best way to keep this momentum going is to continue to win in the Big 12 Conference, right? The brand's not going to get any bigger if you're not winning games. Well, Mr. Spears,
Yeah.
they finally ranked our Arizona Wildcats. Arizona comes in at number 20 in the latest AP poll this morning. I want to start here because obviously the ranking is going to be fluid, and being 20 or being 19 or 17 at this point in the year, it doesn't make a difference to me, right? Because the ending is yet to be written. But I want to start with you here. Is this Tommy Lloyd's most impressive coaching job so far, in your opinion?
I would say
I've been starting to think that. I've been starting to get the inklings that this is going to end up as a season we look back on and go, wow, he really pulled that together. He really got it going when the chips were down and he needed to get things going. He got it shaken.
Honestly, that's definitely a fair question considering where this team was at and during non-conference play. And Tommy decided, okay, I'm going to mix some things around. I'm going to change up the lineup. Hey, let me put this Anthony Delorso guy. One of our listeners on ESPN Tucson called him the Paisan from down under, the Italian from Australia. But you put him in the starting lineup, and then you move KJ Lewis off the bench, and you keep Trey Townsend. You commit to him because he's a veteran guy. He's been playing college basketball for several years, even though Carter Bryant's ceiling is higher than anyone on this Arizona basketball team. Stay committed to Trey Townsend. And I know for some Arizona fans, Tommy Lloyd seems kind of stubborn at times when he's just relying on, Trey Townsend more so than Carter Bryant. And you're kind of just sitting there like, okay, Carter Bryant needs more minutes. And I agree. I think Carter Bryant definitely should play a little bit more. But if you notice, Carter Bryant is playing during winning time. He's playing in crunch time when it really matters the most. And so it doesn't matter who's in the starting lineup. Tommy Lloyd has figured out this rotation and where guys are supposed to be. And guys are contributing in ways that they haven't been before. Like Henry Vasar was kind of a non-factor in non-conference play. And then all of a sudden you see towards the end there, whoa, there might be something with this guy. And he's turned into a very special big man coming off the bench for Arizona. He's very physical. He's, tough at getting rebounds. And I feel like the rise of Henry Vasar, Carter Bryant stepping up and turning into an NBA player in front of our very eyes. And then you have KJ Lewis, who is like, yeah, I'll be the guy that comes off the bench. No problem. Like that kind of sacrifice and that kind of commitment to the team is why Arizona is going to go pretty far in the tournament. And we're starting to see a different version of Caleb Love. Caleb Love is more aggressive now. And you could see him driving and getting into the lane and getting others involved. A lot of people are going to look at the 27 points against ASU, and they're going to be very impressed with that. I'm more so impressed with the 7 assists that he had, in addition to putting up 7 points. And I know he had a few turnovers too, but, he was 6 for 6 from the free throw line, was active defensively. Like that was a version of Caleb Love that's going to take Arizona to the Final Four. So the ranking, you see him at number 20 right now. And yes, they should be in the AP top 25. But the rankings, it doesn't mean anything. Even if Arizona goes into the tournament as a 4 or a 5 seed, this is a team that has the pieces to make a pretty deep run when everyone's all clicking together and everyone knows their role and no one seems to be forcing anything anymore. And now that this team is gelling, we're starting to see them get hot at the right moment.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, and I think you touched on what really started to make me think that this might end up being Tommy's most impressive coaching job is the player development, right? And the fluidity of the way that he's molded and melded his system for the players that he does have. Because I remember I keep referencing it, but Tobe Awaka at the beginning of the season, Tommy Lloyd, is explaining how. Yes, he doesn't look the best right now, but he's still playing. He's playing himself into the system that I'm trying to implement, right? A system he's never played in before. And I think of a player like Trey Townsend, who, me and Damon are not the biggest fans of Trey Townsend exactly, right? But he is clearly Tommy's seeing something in Trey Townsend to keep trusting him with the minutes that he is trusting him with. And I'm with you completely on the starter or bench does not matter as long as they're playing when the chips are all down, right?
Yeah.
But I think, fans like last game, for example, where Trey Townsend, I think, played 20 minutes and Carter Bryant played 23 or vice versa. I think that's kind of the point where I reach where I'm like, we just got to play Carter more than Trey Townsend consistently, right? And I don't want to go on a rant about that, but I think like that is where Tommy Lloyd's bread is going to be buttered this season is finding the perfect mix and match of guys that can really contribute to winning, right? And I think that is where I'm most impressed with Tommy Lloyd is his ability to pull everyone back together onto one team, get some buy-in, and develop the players they do have. Because Arizona doesn't have a lot of shooters, but what they can do is figure out an offense that works with the personnel they have, right? And that's why I've been most impressed with Tommy Lloyd this year. Justin, real quick before we go into our next segment, I just wanted to, kind of nothing too serious here, but how far do you think Arizona could climb by the end of the year in the top 25?
I think they could get into the top 10. There's still plenty of games to be played and some really good games too. Like the final 3 games of the season is going to be a very emotional stretch. You're going to have Iowa State in Ames. You got ASU to end the year, or I think that's the final home game of the season. And then you got to go to Kansas. That's going to be a very tough stretch. And I didn't even mention Houston.
Yeah.
Baylor, you can put them in that mix too.
Stretch, right?
So it's going to be a slog here for Arizona. But the good news is for the Wildcats is they're winning the games that they should. They should go on the road and beat this ASU team. Some of the games that they had at home, they should win those games. Now it's going to get pretty tough here very soon for the Arizona Wildcats. But all these guys are playing the right way. They're contributing their role. Caleb Love is not forcing things anymore. Once upon a time, it was Caleb Love had to score 30 in order for Arizona to have a pretty good shot at winning. Caleb Love can have an off night, and Arizona still figures out a way to win the ball game. But good news for Arizona, Caleb Love is starting to play like the Caleb Love that was the Pac-12 Player of the Year a year ago, while also playing more aggressive. So I think they could probably climb to the top 10, but, rankings don't matter. What matters is, are you playing basketball in April? If you're playing basketball in April, that means you're in the Final Four, and really, that's all Arizona fans ever want.
Yeah, no, it doesn't really matter, like you said, what the rankings are going to be. But I'm just, for one, excited to see that Arizona finally got some respect from the AT. Finally. That's just what I'm trying to see, right, Justin? But we're going to talk a little bit more. I kind of wanted to pick your brain about KJ Love because I do love talking about KJ Lewis. I do love talking about KJ Lewis. So I'm going to pick your brain a little bit about him in our next segment. But first, I do want to talk a little bit about some of our fine sponsors on the AZ Wildcats podcast. So don't go anywhere. Well, Justin, you might not, or you may partake, but I certainly partake in some Colt Cannabis. One of my favorite sponsors to talk about. Colt Cannabis is always dropping some fire flower out here in the Valley. And if you live near a True Leaf location, they just opened up one over here in Maricopa on January 11th. Make sure to check them out and ask for it. They have some Colt Cannabis in stock, because I know Colt Cannabis is probably selling out left and right. That's partially because they brought back the True Leaf exclusive Magic Marker. The Valley was calling for it, and so Magic Marker had to make its return. Colt Cannabis is a company of the people, Justin Spears, and so they brought Magic Marker to the people. So get over to trueleave.com and find your local shop or place an order and tell them that I sent you. Leave Justin Spears out of it, but tell them that Kevin sent you to pick up some Colt Cannabis. And after you pick up your Colt Cannabis, you got to get some munchies, right? And the best place for that is America's Thirst Stop, backing all the way up, all across the globe is Circle K. They're everywhere. I know they're in St. Louis, where I call home. It's America's Thirst Stop for that exact reason. You can join the Inner Circle. It's a free membership program. It's so easy to download. You can actually do it at the pump. That's where I did it. I was filling up, signed up, got the text message on my phone, did the thing before my gas was even done filling up. And you can save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-up. That's 25 cents a gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. That adds up, y'all. And then you get 3 cents per gallon every day after that. And then there's also plenty of membership exclusive deals, like you get, some deals on some hot dog combos, you get some tornado combos, all the good munchies in there. I love the Circle K stuffed. They have peanut butter stuffed pretzels, and they're incredible. Like it's such a simple little snack, but they're really good. That's kind of my go-to. But like I said, join the Inner Circle today for free by downloading the Circle K app. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for more details. And we were talking about KJ Lewis. And Comic Book Chris in the chat here says AZ will go as far as KJ Lewis can take them, which I think is an interesting take that, again, I'm starting to think more, and Comic Book Chris may be a little bit clairvoyant on this. But KJ Lewis, I was watching the ASU game out. Me and Damon were in the building, and watching them in person, he kind of feels like the engine of the team. You know, I don't want to compare him from a play style standpoint to like a Draymond Green, right? Because they're not similar. But I do want to compare them to like a Steph Curry drives the boat, but the boat has no engine without Draymond Green. And I kind of feel the same way about like a Caleb Love and a KJ Lewis, right? Like Caleb Love is ideally going to lead the scoring march for Arizona, but KJ Lewis is fighting over screens on the defensive end, making it tough on the other team's best player. And then on the offensive end, no one's talking about how he's become one of Arizona's best facilitators recently. His assist numbers, I think Damon told me this, he has higher assist numbers than Jaden Bradley over the last like 5 or so games. And I think that's been the most impressive part about KJ Lewis's game is we went from a point of, dang, KJ Lewis didn't make the jump that we thought he was going to make this year. He goes to the bench, and all of a sudden, he takes that leap. And it's been awesome to watch that not only his defense improving, which was already at an all-conference level, but now his offensive tools are starting to catch up a little bit.
Well, and sometimes you just need to be able to take a step back as a player and watch the game and see how it develops, get your mind in a really good place, and then check in and do exactly what KJ Lewis does. I see what your point about the whole Draymond Green. I'll give Arizona basketball fans some really good examples. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Kevin Parham from the early stages of the Sean Miller era, where Kevin Parham wasn't a guy that started. He was always coming off the bench, right? Because usually in that era, the starting small forward was always Solomon Hill. Solo was always the guy that started. But when you looked at end of game lineups, you would see Derek Williams at the 5, Kevin Parham at the 4, or even Solomon Hill at the 4, Kevin Parham at the 3, Momo and Kyle Fogg. So even though Kevin Parham wasn't a guy that started, he was always in during winning time. And he was a guy that brought a lot of defensive energy, a lot of toughness. And when you think about the spirit of those Sean Miller teams, and you look at how Kevin Parham was able to play, you could certainly see the similarities. And I definitely think that KJ Lewis is certainly like a Kevin Parham type of player, or even like a Hassan Adams in the early 2000s, you know, when Salim Stoudemire was the face of the franchise. But Hot Sauce was always there as a complimentary player that was very tough defensively, very athletic, could size up some really good guards and play him and lock him down defensively. So, yeah, KJ Lewis, I definitely think if he stays engaged and he is playing like the junkyard dog that he is, then Arizona definitely has a toughness and a swagger to them. And even though he is not starting, you know, you have what I call the Paisan from down under, Anthony Del Orso, in the starting lineup. KJ Lewis is definitely one of the most important players for Arizona.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. And he's such a pleasure to watch on defense, right? KJ Lewis, I don't know if there's an Arizona player that plays harder than KJ Lewis. And that's not to put down any of the other players on the roster. That's just to kind of speak to the level of tenacity that he brings game in and game out. And those are kind of the players that you end up falling in love with as a fan, right? The guys that just show up and give 100% every night, for better or worse, right? KJ Lewis shot, I think, 1 for 10 against ASU, but it didn't matter because he was doing everything else, and that allows Tommy Lloyd to put him in the game in the moments that matter the most. But there are some important Arizona football news and notes that we got to get to while I have Justin Spears on today. Big Jonah Savaiinaea, Justin, has been really making a buzz about himself at the Senior Bowl. I kind of wanted to speak to you about, first of all, you know all about Big Jonah. Can you first kind of start with what impresses you most about Jonah Savaiinaea as a player, and I guess as a person as well?
He's a gentle giant. Like, you look at him and he's 6'4", 6'5", nearly 340 pounds. Just a monstrous human being. But then you get to talk to him, and he's such a soft-spoken guy and just has a heart of gold. And so I love Jonah, one of my all-time favorite guys to come through the Arizona football program. And he was an under-the-radar recruit coming out of high school. So he's originally from Tafuna, American Samoa, and then played high school ball at St. Louis High School in Honolulu, which is the same school that produced, I think Tua Tagovailoa played there.
Yes, it is.
So yeah, St. Louis produced a number of high level football players, and Jonah Savaiinaea was an under the radar recruit. But when he was at the Polynesian Bowl, he was the guy that was leading the haka and was so impressive in practices.
Wow.
And a lot of guys were like, hey, there's a lot of players that, these guys are getting coverage here at the Polynesian Bowl, but this guy, Jonah, this guy's legit. And Arizona signed him as an early enrollee, and they brought him into the spring practice schedule rather than finishing out his second semester senior year. He came to Arizona as an early enrollee, and Jed Fish said he had Chris Forster at training camp or at spring ball. And Chris Forster is a longtime NFL offensive line coach, has been coaching offensive line for over 30 years. And Forster was like, who is that guy? That guy is an NFL offensive lineman. And Jed Fish was like, yeah, that guy is supposed to be a second semester senior in high school.
Wow.
And so from that point forward, he was already on the NFL radar as a guy that's going to be big time. And then he started as a true freshman at right guard, started all 12 games for the Wildcats, and then moved to right tackle as a sophomore, was great as a right tackle. But then as a junior this past year, I mean, he was going to be at right tackle, but then Rhino Tapatotai goes down with an injury, and they're dealing with some issues at left tackle, and they just kind of viewed Jonah as the right guy to play left tackle. So we're talking about in 3 years, he played at 3 different positions on the offensive line and excelled at them, at right guard, right tackle, and left tackle. And now he goes to the NFL as a guy who could fall in the first round. I would love to see him go late in the first round to the Detroit Lions. I think Jonah Savaiinaea next to Penei Sewell as a guard tackle duo, like, forget about it, man. You're shutting down one side of the field.
Feeds families.
It's going to feed family. And you know what? Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a very, very happy running back next year. So I would love to see Big Jonah go to the Detroit Lions. But even if he falls out of the first round, no matter who gets Big Jonah, I think he's going to be a guard. And if he is a guard, he's going to have a 15-year NFL career. If he plays tackle, we'll see. But the thing that's so special about Jonah is that he can play both guard and tackle. He's got arms that are pretty long. I think his arm length, it was the longest among interior offensive linemen at the Senior Bowl, and it was like the 4th longest among tackles at the Senior Bowl. So he's got the arm length to play tackle, but if you look at the way he's built, he's a perfect NFL guard. And at the Senior Bowl, he started at right guard and then moved to right tackle. So he's a swing offensive lineman. No matter what, he's going to have a great NFL career if he can stay healthy.
I love to hear, excuse me, I love to hear that. And me and Damon were maybe getting a little out over our skis when we were talking about Jonah Savaiinaea on our last show, but I'll ask you the same question that I asked Damon. Is this the next step in Arizona becoming O-line U? Is this the next step? We got Big John Morgan, Big Jonah, maybe the Deuced going next. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I mean, in all seriousness, can you kind of just speak to the continued leveling up of Arizona's offensive line, and it's adding a lot of guys to the league here, slowly but surely?
Yeah, so I think the last offensive lineman to go in the first round was John Fina in 1992. Then Jordan Morgan ended that last year when he went number 25 overall to the Green Bay Packers. Would like to see Jordan Morgan play a little bit more. It was kind of disappointing to see him end his season with an injury. We didn't really get to see him in the playoffs. But yeah, I'm curious to see how Jordan Morgan evolves as an NFL offensive lineman. And then Big Jonah, no doubt. I mean, he's going to step up and have a great career. I mean, we're talking about a couple of Arizona offensive linemen that could have solid NFL careers, which hasn't been the case since like maybe Eben Britton, who played under Mike Stoops and then was drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars, played a little bit with the Chicago Bears. He's killing it in the podcasting world. If you're an Arizona football fan, look up Eben Britton. He's doing a lot of cool stuff. But yeah, it's been a while since Arizona's had some offensive linemen that were, guys that were in the league for a long time. And Arizona certainly has a couple right now in Jordan Morgan and Big Jonah.
Yeah, and the word from all the coaches this year has been trench work, right? Buffing up in the trenches, and that's why I get excited, because I feel like there's a focus from this coaching staff to really get some big men into the league. First of all, have them produce here, right? But as a vehicle to get them to where they want to be in their overall career. But another player that is kind of trying to make a name for himself here is Jacory Croskey-Merritt, Justin, who obviously last year had some eligibility issues. Maybe he did play the 4 games. Maybe he didn't play the 4 games, but he didn't play for Arizona, but for 13 carries. He produced during those 13 carries against his former squad, New Mexico. But he's making a name for himself in the Shrine Bowl. Had the Mexico logo on one helmet, or on one side of the helmet, and the Arizona on the other. Was the offensive MVP of the game. And I don't think I saw him on any draft boards, but what's his outlook in your opinion? And kind of what do you think Arizona would have looked like if they had JCM last year?
Man, I'm not saying that Arizona's going to a bowl game, but you have to think about those 2 games that were very close, like the West Virginia game, like the Texas Tech game. If they had a guy like Jacory available offensively, because in both those games, Arizona struggled and then they had their little spurts. If they had a guy like Jacory available, who knows what things would have been like for Arizona. And, I've reached out to the NCAA regarding Jacory, have not gotten a response. Probably will never get a response from the NCAA. But I mean, it's so disappointing, especially because they allowed him to enter the transfer portal. They allowed him to sign with Arizona.
Play in a game
like the NCAA clearinghouse. At that point, you just got to let the guy play, in my opinion. And I feel so bad for him because he had a whole year just kind of wasted, just sitting on the sidelines when he could have been helping out Arizona. And I'm telling you guys, this guy, Jacory Croskey-Merritt, he was carving up Arizona's defense. Now, I know a lot of teams carved up Arizona's defense this year, but
I'm telling you, guy.
But Jacory was, he was, in my opinion, the best running back that Arizona had. So it was hard not to see that kind of talent, just seeing it on the sideline when they could be helping out Arizona. But he's a great running back. And you know what? NFL teams, they don't give a damn about what happened at Arizona and the whole eligibility issues, because they're like, okay, so you look great at New Mexico. You look great in your season opener against your former team at Arizona. You look great in this East-West Shrine Bowl. You broke out a few runs. You looked very fast. You're also a very patient runner. And, oh, by the way, you didn't play this past season, so you got some tread on the tires. These NFL scouts and GMs, they're like, this is perfect. We got our running back. I think Jacory's probably going to go day 3, right? Because there are just so many running backs in this draft. In day 3, you're talking about rounds 4 through 7. But I think whatever team decides to draft Jacory Croskey-Merritt, they're getting a gem. Because this guy, he is experienced, right? He's been playing college football now for 5-6 years. So he's already going into the NFL, kind of approaching his mid-20s as a running back. He's a guy that can contribute right now. And I just hate the fact that he's going to end up on those damn Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, if you let our TikTok tell it, Cam Scadaboo might end up on the Chiefs. We had him in the studio, not our show, but ASU show had him in the studio, and they asked him pre-show, what's your favorite NFL stadium? Like, not even where you want to play for, just what's the stadium you're excited to play in. He said Arrowhead, and all of a sudden, all the KC Chiefs fans on the line were like, "We're getting Scadaboo. It's wrapped up."
Man.
But that was actually my next question is, do you think that there's a spot in the league for JCM? And it sounds like you do, and that you think that he's actually going to get drafted.
Totally. I think he definitely could get drafted. Like I said, day 3, rounds 4 through 7, that's Jacory Croskey-Merritt territory. I did see that he's already been having some conversations with some NFL teams. When he was at the East-West Shrine Bowl, I think a Pittsburgh outlet said that the Steelers have expressed interest in Jacory Croskey-Merritt. And that'd be awesome. I know the Steelers, they're dealing with their own issues and how they ended the season or whatever, but like, that is a franchise and organization that is so well run. I think Jacory Croskey-Merritt going into one of those type of situations would be ideal. And I feel that same way about Tetairoa McMillan. Like, I just would hate for him to go to an organization like Cleveland. Yes. Right. Or Jacksonville or whatever. Like, I would love to see T-Mac repping a New England Patriots uniform.
See, that's the fit, right? Like, you don't even got to change out your favorite color scheme. All the fits he's got, they still work in New England with the navy and red and all that.
Oh yeah.
But I think
and they would go nuts for him in Boston. His last name is McMillan.
Business. He's a business first kind of guy, T-Mac. And so I like team first, business first. I think New England would love McMillan.
McMillan in Boston. It makes too much sense. Too much
Is
sense.
there a more natural fit? Unless there was like a team in Hawaii or something. I don't think there's a more natural fit than him in New England, Justin. But we've got more for you on the AZ Wildcats podcast. But first, a quick ad break, so don't you go anywhere. Well, Justin, we recently were blessed with some Spinato's pizza here at the PHNX headquarters. And it's honestly not only the best pizza in the Valley, Mr. Spears, it is the best place to go watch some Suns basketball. I know when I want to watch the Suns, I do it at Spinato's. It's the pizzeria to be at if you're a Suns fan. And if you like free pizza for a year, I don't know if that intrigues you or anyone at home, you can get it done at Spinato's. And if you even have a decent jump shot, you've got to enter their free pizza competition. And I literally mean Pizza, because they're playing pizza, not horse. It's the horse game, but you're spelling pizza at Spinato's. You can win free pizza for a year and tickets to the Suns game on April 9th. So you get free pizza for a year and a free NBA ticket. NBA tickets might be more expensive than the free pizza for a year. Are you serious? That is a deal. Mark your calendar, Suns fan. The excitement starts at Spinato's. Get all the info on the watch parties and pizza basketball contests at spinatospizzeria.com. Spinato's, the official pizza of the Phoenix Suns. And once you get, that new pizza for a year, you got to have that place to eat it. So you got to go buy a home with Carol Royce Realty Team. Now, their phone number, I'll say it again later, is 480-776-5231. But that is the real estate team, Carol Royce Real Estate Team, that has been family owned and operating in the Valley for I don't know how many years, but they have sold 12,000 homes across the Valley. I don't know how many homes are in the Valley, but that feels like a substantial amount of homes. Choosing the right agent is a big decision, and too often you're left with doubts as to whether or not you made the right choice, but you're never going to have those doubts with Carol Royce's team because they make written guarantees. And this is the craziest part. This is the absolute craziest part, Justice Spears. You can buy a home, and if you don't like it, their team will buy it back off of you. So yeah, if you have a little buyer's remorse, the garage is a little too small for Mr. Spears' 10 cars that he's got, he's gonna have to, ask him to buy it back. So if you're looking to buy a home, the dream home, you're probably looking on Zillow as well or Realtor.com. Well, Carol Royce also has off the market homes, markets that you can't even find online. That's the exclusivity that you get with Carol Royce. So if you're considering buying a home in 2025, the name to trust is Carol Royce, your home sold guaranteed realty. Move up to one of our listings and we'll buy your home for cash. Have questions, call today or visit Carol online at carolroyceteam.com. That's carolroyceteam.com. All right, so we were still talking a little bit about the draft, and I do want to pick your brain on T-Mac just a little bit more because our guy Damon Dog is hoping to get face-to-face with T-Mac maybe. No promises, y'all, but he's hoping to get face-to-face with T-Mac for at least like a minute or two, kind of pick his brain. But where do you expect T-Mac to go in this year's draft? And what are your just overall thoughts on him as a pro? Obviously, he is probably the best receiver in this draft, but just what are your personal projections for him as a pro? I know you said, for example, Jonah Savaiinaea has a potential to make, a long, decade-long career out of it. Yeah. So how do you feel about T-Mac?
I think T-Mac is definitely in the same boat. I am curious to see how he's going to translate without having Noah Fafita next to him. Because if you think about his whole career, he's had Noah with him every step of the way, even when Noah wasn't throwing him the passes.
Yep, he was still there.
He still had his buddy Noah there, and Noah's like the T-Mac whisperer. So when you don't have your guy Noah there, how are you going to move up to the next level? But the thing about T-Mac is that he is a guy that is so dedicated to his craft. He is a guy that just wants the ball. That's it. Like all of the business stuff that came with his career and his stardom at Arizona, a big part of that was because he's got a team of people that are helping orchestrate and facilitate all of this stuff. T-Mac's just like, all right, well, just tell me where I need to be. I'll be there. But outside of that, man, I'm just here to ball. I'm just here to work out. And if you think about the spokesperson of Arizona football last year, it was Noah Fafita. T-Mac, a lot of the times he was just like, hey, I'm a reserve guy. I just kind of want to stay to myself. So he's a guy that's
silent type.
Exactly. And he's a guy that is just so dedicated to ball. And he understands that when he is playing at his best, the success and all the stuff that comes off the field is going to come with that. So I think T-Mac, no matter what, he's going to be a great pro. He's got a great work ethic. And, when you look at his size in his frame, and when you add his athleticism to, this is a guy that's played volleyball growing up his entire life. He's excelled at every single sport. His size, his athleticism, and if you look at over the last couple of years, he's really developed as a runner too. When he first got to Arizona, he was just kind of like all right, I'm going to high point a ball at the sidelines. I'm going to gain 20 yards, but I'm going to go down out of bounds. T-Mac, over the last year and a half, 2 years, will catch the ball and start to navigate through the defensive secondary. And you saw a lot of yak, yards after catch. And since he developed the yak, T-Mac turned into the best receiver in all of college football. He should have won the Biletnikoff Award, in my opinion.
That was some thievery. That was some.
I know.
That was a highway robbery.
100%.
Don't get me riled up. Don't get me riled up. That's a crazy result. I'm not gonna lie.
He should have won the Biletnikoff, but he didn't. And now he's going into the NFL draft, in my opinion, as the best receiver. Where is he going to land? I would like to see him go number 4 overall to those New England Patriots. Drake May needs a nice little weapon to throw to. Mike Vrabel stepping in as the new head coach. I thought Jerod Mayo, he should have been. I thought he got a raw deal. He should have been coaching there for a couple more years. But Mike Vrabel stepping in as a new coach, we'll see how that works out. I would love to see Tetairoa McMillan going to an organization like the New England Patriots. I also saw, I think it's Mel Kiper Jr.'s draft. He had him going number 6 overall to the Las Vegas Raiders, which would be interesting now that they're coached by Pete Carroll.
Yeah, that'd be very cool.
And Brennan Carroll is now their run game coordinator and offensive line coach. So there's a connection there. I'm sure Brennan Carroll would definitely have some influence on the Raiders taking T-Mac at number 6 overall. And if he goes higher than 7, T-Mac is going to be the highest selected Wildcat in NFL draft history. But if he falls out of that top 7 range, I look at the Carolina Panthers at number 8 overall. I hate it because I don't want him going to a joke of a franchise that's ran by David Tepper, who is one of the worst owners in all of NFL.
Be careful, he might throw a drink on you. Be careful.
But Bryce Young needs a weapon. Bryce Young and T-Mac are also friends. They're familiar with each other. So I think probably somewhere in the top 8, that's the T-Mac range.
Yeah, and you brought up the Raiders. I think me and Damon were talking about this off air the other day. It would kind of be cool to see T-Mac rocking the silver and black. I think it'd almost be kind of cool to see, honestly. I don't know, but I'm excited. And you brought up his running ability, and that's something that I think is the most underrated part of T-Mac's game is his speed. Not really his speed, but his acceleration specifically, right? He's not necessarily the fastest guy from point A to B, but if you let him out in open space, he's going to dust some dudes. And I'm excited. You brought up the possibility of him playing for Pete Carroll and Brennan Carroll. Pete Carroll is no stranger to an athletic, tall, kind of freakishly talented receiver who can go high point a ball. He's not exactly the physical specimen that DK Metcalf is, but some of their traits are similar on a foundational level. So I'd be excited to see how he gets utilized by a Pete Carroll in that system. Now they don't necessarily have the quarterback to get him the ball at all, really. But
no.
but it would be interesting once they do get him that quarterback if he was to go to the Raiders as well. I
think the Raiders could get Russell Wilson. That's my hot take.
Let Russ cook.
Let
Raider Russ cook.
Raider Russ. Sierra gets a residency in Las Vegas. It's a win-win for everybody. And Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson, they reunite, and T-Mac is a Las Vegas Raider catching touchdowns for Russell Wilson.
I love that. And I do. That's pretty much all I have for you. Oh, wait, actually, at least on Arizona football. But you brought up pre-show signing day coming up this week. Can you tell me a little bit about signing days, things that Arizona fans should be either looking forward to or, just kind of keeping on the back burner?
Yeah, well, thanks to the early signing period, this National Signing Day isn't as glorious as it used to be, right? The old National Signing Day in the spring was the big one that everyone had circled on their calendar. This one's kind of like, cool. yeah, we already signed like 20 guys, but hey, we'll sign these other 4 or 5. But still, these guys are very important additions to the program. The Wildcats have some junior college guys that they're adding from the College of San Mateo. Ezra Funa, a defensive lineman who's 6'3", 300 pounds. Siale Uluave, who's 6'5", 350 pounds, big offensive lineman. They got Leroy Paulo, a defensive lineman from Cerritos College, and they're adding some high school prospects too. So it's not going to be as busy of a signing period as the one back in December, but still some Arizona football recruiting updates will be happening over the next couple of days and certainly on Wednesday. And we're going to talk to Brent Brennan. He's going to have a press conference on Wednesday, just kind of overlooking the entire 2025 recruiting class. So lots to look forward to for Arizona football fans. Check out my work on Tucson.com.
No, definitely. Yeah. Check out everything that Justin Spears does. The Spears and Ali on ESPN radio, all of it for the Arizona Daily Star. Spears really does it all. I mean, he's the 5-tool player of Arizona media right now. But I did want to ask you about, it perked my ears up when you said that Coach Brennan's going to be talking about his approach to the 2025 recruiting class. I have 2 questions for you. One, what's something that you want to know at that press conference that you're looking to glean out of that press conference? And also, what did you think? How did you think Brent Brennan was going to attack this offseason in relation to what he actually did? And what was your opinion on his approach?
Well, the one thing that jumps out at me when I look at Arizona's 2025 recruiting class are the offensive and defensive linemen. I mean, we're talking about nearly 24 scholarship newcomers on the offensive and defensive line between the portal, between the high school levels, junior college. I mean, there are a lot of linemen that are coming in. And Brent Brennan said, this past season, I would look across the field and I would notice that teams that were playing against the Big 12 had bigger linemen than we did. So we needed to add some size. And that's what Brent Brennan did. He went out, got some size in the portal, got some size at the high school level. And so just kind of addressing the trench battles. That was what made Arizona so special in 2023 was the offensive and defensive line. Those guys were the unsung heroes. So really focusing on that side of the ball is something that I'm going to be talking to Coach Brennan about. And I think, honestly, the offseason, Brent Brennan has done everything he possibly could do to make Arizona fans happy. Now, there is a contingent of Arizona fans that are like, yeah, okay, cool. You won the offseason, but how about let's not go 4-8 with high expectations. Let's win some football games. And Brent Brennan said that, I think, after either signing period
his exit interview.
Or his last press conference.
He said, I know that I can't gain support back from some fans until we win a football game in the fall. And I liked hearing that from him. I liked hearing the self-awareness of it's about work. It's about making the actions that I say I'm going to make happen. And then going and winning football games. So I did like hearing that from him.
And he knows that there are some people out there that I can do whatever it is possible to win them over, and they're not going to be impressed until it translates to the field. So he understands that. But he changed up things at coordinators. He went out and got Seth Dagey, who was a great quarterback at Texas Tech. He is a guy who recently played college football and played it at the highest level. So he can relate to Noah Fafita more than anyone on that coaching staff. So I think getting him to come over from Marshall was a big get. And the thing that's so cool about Seth Dagey that I think Arizona fans are going to appreciate is that even though he comes from the air raid tree, he adjusts his offense to whatever personnel he has available. This guy's an air raid disciple, and yet Marshall had more rushing yards than passing yards last year. Why? Because that was what was more effective for them. And plus, they had a really athletic quarterback at Marshall too. So he understands the talent that he has available and maximizes all of that talent. I think he's going to do exactly that at Arizona, which is something that, with all due respect, the previous guys did not do. Matt Atkins and Dino Babers, the former offensive coordinator, they didn't maximize the weapons that Arizona had on its offense. And the offense really stalled and struggled throughout the course of the season. So getting Seth Dagey in, I think getting Dwayne Aquina to just focus on the defensive backs, have Danny Gonzalez focus on defensive coordinator / linebackers. When he was a defensive coordinator at San Diego State, at ASU, they were like top 25 in pretty much every single category. So I think Danny G is a really good defensive play caller. And I think him just focusing on that is going to be good for him, because let's be real here, special teams was not good for Arizona this year. So I think they're like, okay, let's get you out of the special teams chair. Let's get a new guy, whoever that is. We'll find out here very soon in the near future. But him just focusing on DC and linebackers, Dwayne Aquina getting focused on the defensive backs. And then one of the biggest wins of the offseason, you hired Joe Savaiinaea, a two-time All-Pac-10 defensive lineman, a guy who is a Desert Swarm member, as a beloved Arizona Wildcat who played in the Super Bowl, who coached at Oregon and Miami and has coached at the highest level. I mean, we've been talking about Big Joe as a defensive coordinator, maybe even a head coach at Arizona someday. And now you got him to come back to be the defensive line coach / associate head coach. Every step of the offseason, Brent Brennan and his staff have won. Now let's see how it's going to translate to 2025. And we'll see how things go, because, it could determine whether or not Brent Brennan is back on that sideline in 2026. I love the pieces they added. I love the coaches they got. Arizona football is definitely in pretty good shape right now, but we shall see.
We shall see. And I do have a question for you after our final commercial break here. I want to ask you, because you did speak to the struggles of the special teams units that Danny G did coach last season. And I wanted to ask you for some clarity on his, I guess, for lack of a better word, acumen, I guess. But
sure.
Real quick, after this ad break is the AZ Wildcats Podcast. Don't you go anywhere. Well, Justin, one thing that everyone is going to want to do if they're really fans of Arizona is buy some tickets for Arizona football. And you can do that with Game Time. And even if you don't want to buy tickets for Arizona football, the Super Bowl's coming up. Basketball's still in season. There's a lot of great events you can go to with Game Time. They got tickets for concerts, comedy shows, all the sporting events I just named. Game Time is the place to be for those. But they also have a couple really cool features that I want to talk about today. Their Game Time Picks feature that makes getting tickets for events even easier. It filters out all the fluffs. It pretty much just shows you the best deals available in the arena, so you don't got to cycle through thousands of seats. For example, if you're going to BYU game tomorrow night, they got an 18,000 seat arena. I don't know if you really want to sit there for 30 minutes going through all the different seats, and that's why Game Time Picks has your back. But my favorite aspect of the Game Time experience is the views from the seats, because before I used Game Time, I used to go to a third-party website, Google, my seat number, my section, and try to get like a view of someone else's photo from that area to see if the view that I'm going to get. But now that I use Game Time, I don't have to do any of that. They have the view from your seat right there on the app. You can see what you're going to see from the arena once you get in your seat. They also have the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. That is another crazy insurance policy there. So you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. It's Game Time. Also, Gila River Resorts and Casinos, one of my favorite places in all of the Valley. And I know Justin Spears was asking us before the show, are you gonna be reading the Gila ad today? Are you gonna be promoting the good people over at Gila River? Of course we are. But with Gila River, you actually have a chance to win $5.9 million. $5.9 million. That is life-changing money for the big game. Score more than just touchdowns. We're giving you the chance to win $5.9 million with our free prop play from January 27th to February 8th. You only have 5 more days. Visit GilaPropPlay.com and answer 26 questions about the big game for your shot at the grand prize. Here's the deal. Free to play. Enter for free and make your big game predictions. Score instant prizes from $5 to $100 in free bonus play while you play. And then obviously the big kahuna, the $5.9 million grand prize. If you answer all 26 questions correctly, that's 100% of the questions, you can win that almost $6 million jackpot. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit play@gila.com for more details or check out the link in the description below. I know that I've already placed my bets for the big game with our friends over at Bet365, actually. But I will be going to Gila River Resorts and Casinos, playing some nice table games this weekend. Excited for that in preparation for the big game. Arizona basketball, though. Well, actually, I'll ask my Danny G question real quick that I teased before the break.
Yeah.
I something I've been wondering, and I'm hoping you can give me some clarity on this, is when Danny Gonzalez was promoted from special teams and linebackers to overall defensive coordinator, my biggest question was, how could you look at his performance last season and give him a promotion, seemingly based on the struggles of his units last season? Now, I guess what I'm looking for is some clarity as to how he can be a DC in one place and really succeed as a play caller, but then when he's in a more specialized role, he struggled last season. What is Brent Brennan seeing? What are you seeing in Danny Gonzalez that maybe fans or I'm missing?
Yeah, well, I think, like I said earlier, the fact that when he was at ASU and San Diego State, their units defensively were top 20, top 30 all across the board. So under his direction at two different places, he has shown that he is a pretty solid defensive coordinator. He coached linebackers and also coached special teams. Special teams, yes, he has a background in special teams. I forgot. I think he might have been a punter, or he comes from a special teams background. So they decided, okay, let's just go ahead and put him there. But you look at the onside kick that failed against Colorado. You look at the swinging gate plays against Texas Tech and also West Virginia that resulted in points for the other team. When you look at the false start against ASU because there weren't enough guys in the field and somebody was running out, and Brent Brennan said after the game, like, that wasn't on, I think it was Michael Wooten. Like, that wasn't Wooten's fault. That was the guy who's in charge of that unit's fault. So, Brent Brennan held his special teams coordinator, Danny Gonzalez, accountable for what happened. But I think Danny G is he's a much better defensive guy than he is a special teams coach. And now, there's not really any limit to the amount of on-field coaches you can have. It's just the recruiting roles. So now they're like, okay, we're going to put Danny Gonzalez in a defensive coordinator linebackers chair, which is where he's really good at. And we're going to go out and we're going to get a coach that specializes on special teams. I think that is the perfect plan for Arizona. And Brent Brennan said it when they hired Joe Savaiinaea and they talked about Dwayne Aquina going back to just coaching DBs. He's a DB godfather, has coached 3 Jim Thorpe Award winners, has coached some of the best defensive backs to come through college football. Him specializing in that is what's better for Arizona rather than overseeing an entire defense. And now all of these guys are at the right chair. The staff last year, none of those guys were at the right, or not, I wouldn't say none of those guys, but a few of those guys were not at the right seat. Now they feel like all those guys are in the right position.
Okay, yeah, that does provide a lot of clarity for me in that sense, is to just kind of making the fit the person, right? As opposed to kind of like figuring out as you go who's going to be doing what. But before we get out of here, we got about 5 minutes left. I do want to pick your brain a little bit. I guess I'll go in the direction of the Super Bowl because recently, every year this photo that I'm about to populate circles social media annually as Super Bowl I, Justin Spears, the first inaugural Super Bowl. And there was a band that played at that Super Bowl, and I'm sure everyone in the chat knows about this. But can you just let everyone know who was the marching band that played in the first Super Bowl? Who was with the honor of the first ever big game?
Yeah, the first ever halftime show was not Kendrick Lamar.
No,
it was not Dr. Dre or Beyonce.
Elvis was not in the building.
Or Prince.
No.
Or all the other great Super Bowl halftime shows. It was the University of Arizona, Pride of Arizona marching band. And they did it with Grambling State. Grambling State, they were also there, the HBCU band. They made it out to the Super Bowl, and in collaboration with them, they performed the halftime show.
I love it. I love seeing that photo circulate yearly, kind of reminding people that, yeah, the Pride of Arizona is that marching band. They do this. They've done this for a long time, and they did the Super Bowl. They did the Super Bowl for Kendrick did. Arizona, greater sign, symbol, Kendrick Lamar. That's what I'm here to say today. But I want to thank you for joining me today, Justin Spears. It has been so much fun chopping it up with you about Arizona athletics, and we'll be chopping it up with you weekly here for a while going forward. Next time, Damon will be back. So next time, we'll get the super team together. We'll sign Damon back to the squad, and yeah, I'm excited. So let the people know where they can find you. Let the people know what you're up to, what they should be checking out, where they can catch up with Justin Spears.
Yeah, so Spears and Ali weekday mornings from 7 to 9 a.m. on ESPN Tucson. If you're driving around Tucson, it's 1490 a.m. on your radio dial. ESPNTucson.com, the ESPN Tucson mobile app. You can download that for free. Stream us there, or you can check out the Spears and Ali podcast, Apple, Spotify, all of that. And then you can follow me on Twitter or X, whatever you guys are calling it nowadays.
Artist formerly known as
Twitter. It would always be Twitter. Their mama calls him Twitter. I'm gonna call him Twitter. Sorry, Elon, but
your mama
yeah.
named you Twitter.
So I'm on Twitter. Follow me at Justin E Sports, and then Tucson.com. Man, I'm super excited for this chapter with you guys, and thank you for having me be a part of your crew.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it. And also for those that are probably waiting on me to talk a little bit about BYU basketball, I'm going to be uploading a preview video later today, previewing that Arizona BYU game so we can kind of flesh it out more. I really wanted to just chop it up today with Justin and just kind of catch up a little bit and give you guys a feel for our new Wildcats correspondent on this podcast. But that has been today's episode of the AZ Wildcats Podcast. For today's host, Kevin Thomas, and today's co-host, the great Justin Spears. Like I said, it's the AZ Wildcats Podcast. Catch you post-game tomorrow. Don't go anywhere. Always remember, bear down and go Cats.
We all silly like the mayor.